Hey guys, welcome back. We're here to talk about Alteryx today. So I just downloaded the free trial of the designer, and we're gonna go ahead and kind of get some first thoughts on it, see what the designer looks like, what we have to work with, and then afterwards we'll probably just do some simple kind of uh, extracts or queries of data, and then see what we can do with some simple prep tools. Okay, so let's go to the screen here. We see a lot of things jumping out at you on the screen. First, let's start off with the top right here. There's like this ribbon. This is called the tool palette. So notice how this top portion has a bunch of sample tools. Right now, it's the favorites tab is actually activated, but if I go to recommended, in, out, prep, join, you see that Alteryx has a variety of tools to use to start your workflow or your prep workflow for data. Right here on the left side is what's called your configuration window. So this is actually pretty cool. It gives you a bunch of options on layouts, annotations, on certain tools. You can also look at um, some workflow kind of callouts when you want to create a macro or an analytical app. You can look at runtime. So there's some configurations here if you want to uh, record, certain runtimes. You want to apply limits to stuff that's happening. So cancel running workflow on an error rather than running the whole workflow. If an error occurs, immediately cancel the workflow so that from a developer standpoint, you can go ahead and kind of investigate what's going on. You can look at events. So enable events. This looks at uh, some type of commands. You can do emails, an email action, look at some meta info of the actual tool that you'll have activated. So that's configuration in a nutshell. Here's your canvas. So here's where you'll be designing your workflow. Gives you a visual representation of how you got the data, and then how you're going to transform it up until the time that you need it. And then right below that, I'll make it bigger, is your results, your basically output workflow, your results window. This will actually show you what a snippet of the results, what they look like. Um, the cool thing about this is it gives you a rundown on the events. So how many errors, warnings, how long did stuff take, number of rows that were processed. Um, so that pretty much is what you have to work with. Um, I like it. It's pretty visual. There's a drag and drop option here. The functionality that so you go in there, you can drag the tool you want and immediately start working. Um, this is definitely a great alternative for those that don't really want to kind of learn the ins and outs of, like, I guess you could say, code development, SQL, for some like myself, SAS, where you have like a code editor or some type of visual editor studio tool, and you're basically coding down like a sheet, like a text sheet of code. If you don't know what that language does or what the code does, then it's very hard for someone to kind of inherit um, like a workflow or some type of code sheet and understand what's actually going on with the data, right? So um, this is really a good, I would say, an alternative for those that aren't familiarized with the basic code hierarchy or code construction of how a process is developed, and they can kind of go off this visual representation of what's behind these tools, which is actually the code itself. There is a code feature or a SQL feature as you get more developed in Alteryx that you can do, where you can dig into the SQL and do apply your SQL code in the actual tools. You can work with Python and Alteryx. So we're going to do some very simple tasks right now, just to start off. I don't want to go too deep in the woods, but just kind of give you a sense of what Alteryx can do on the onset. So I brought in an input data tool. So basically, these green tools are your in and out tools. So basically, um, this group of tools in green will basically say, let's bring in data, let's bring out data, let's write data out. So there's an input data tool, there's a map input, there's output data, text input, date time now. So if you want to record a time at that point, browse an auto insights uploader directory. So I have an input data tool. I just dragged it in here into my canvas. I'm going to set up a connection. So I'll go really quick here, and I got some saved kind of connections I've already put up here. So I'm bringing up this Teams CSV, and then you can see in the configuration window when you load that connection, it's going to give you a kind of a preview, first 100 records. So this is baseball data, just to give you context. This is baseball data. I brought in teams. So notice how you can immediately go and say, all right, year ID, league ID, team ID, franchise ID, rank ID, the name of the actual team. Okay. So then I brought in teams. Let me go ahead and real quick bring in another input data here on the canvas. I will go back to my saved recent connections. Let's bring in, let's see, we'll bring in home games CSV from the data baseball bank I have. Again, let's look at that preview of the first 100 records. So now notice how you have your year key, league key, team key, park key, your games, attendance. So this is just information about attendance at the home sites of the games, or for the year. Actually, let's see. I believe it says for the year. Yeah. Okay. So let's do some simple playing around with some prep tools. Let's go to the preparation ribbon. Check out all these prep tools in blue, like a dark blue. You have autofill, create samples, data cleansing. Data cleansing is, you can actually click on it and it gives you a brief description. Perform basic data cleansing operations, such as replacing null values, removing punctuation, and modifying capitalization. Filter, formula, generate rows, imputation, multi-field binning, multi-field formulas, multi-row formulas, oversample fields, random percentage samples, record IDs. If you want to, kind of count your observations, a sample, select tool, you'll use this a lot. Select record, sort, tile, unique. Okay, so let's do this. I want to do a simple join. But I want to prep the data. I don't want to use all the data columns that I have right now in these input tools. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to my home games. I want to just get a feel for each year, the team key, and total attendance. Okay, so the one thing I did notice is you can see here 1871. It's here multiple times for each team key, right? So make note of that. But if I drag in the select tool here, notice how as you get it next to um, the input tool, it'll automatically kind of connect. Here in the configuration window, when you have the select tool activated, it gives you basically a rundown or a roadmap of the data that it's looking at, the field, the type, the size. You can rename it. You can add a description. In this situation, I only want to keep the year. I don't want another league, so I'm gonna take that off. Park, not important for this exercise. I just want to get total attendance. There you go. So year, team, attendance. All right. Now I'm going to bring in the select tool here, connect it to teams. It's going to do the same thing here too. It'll look at the teams data set. I only want to look at year, team ID. So I'm taking off basically the data columns that aren't important when doing a simple join that I'm going to show you. Notice that the attendance is already there, but we'll grab the attendance from this tool just to kind of show the join taking place. Okay, so I'm only bringing in year and team, and name. I'll bring the name. That's what I want to do. Okay. All right. Now let's do a join. I want to keep the attendance information as my base table. So this will be my A. So when I go to join, which is represented by purple, you see all these join tools. There's a pen, find and replace, fuzzy match, join multiple, make a group, union. We'll just take the join one and we're gonna connect the left tool to the home game. And then I'm gonna move this so you see I can select all. I'm gonna move this down here to better represent, make sure there's no cross lines of connection. And so now I have basically giving you a visual representation. I'm bringing in data here that I've selected to move on into the left node, and then the information from the team's data set that I selected to move on into the right node. Now I actually need to join it. So on the left, immediately you can get year. I'm going to join that with year ID, team key. I'm going to join that with team ID. Okay. And then in the actual tool, you can actually choose what you want to keep in the on the output. So I want to keep the all the left stuff from the home key, but I'm gonna uncheck year ID and uncheck team ID because I don't want them if they're gonna be there. And then this unknown, basically what the unknown means is if you're working with data that changes in the future and you get more columns, um, having that checked will basically kind of open the door for those columns. So that it'll let them go through the process. So keep that in mind too. If you want a clean workflow and you don't want anything new to kind of disrupt stuff, having that unchecked will ensure that. Okay, so let's do a simple join. Okay, so real quick before I hit run, I've worked with the home game CSV, the team CSV. I'm only keeping the year, the team, and the attendance. I'm joining that to the teams where it has an identical year and team indicator, but also the name of the team. Okay, so I'm bringing in the name of the team over to the home game. So notice how fairly fast, it ran fairly fast off the text files. Um, Real quick before we look at the data, look at the results window. Automatically tells you input data tool 2 and 1, number of records, where it came from, the join. All right. Now notice on the join tool, these three nodes. So let me make this bigger. There we go. These three nodes right here, right? LJR. So the J is represented for anything that matches based on the key I provided, right? The key I provided was the year and the team. So anything that matched from that will be visible in that node. Anything that did not match from the left table would be here on the left table. Anything that did not match from the right table would be on the right node. Hope that was simple enough. Okay. So let's go to the middle node. Notice how we do that. Automatically, you're getting a configuration view. You're getting your results view in the bottom here, and it gives you insights as to what's been joined. Now, keep in mind there's 3,200 records displayed. If I go here to my left table, 3,200, right? So it found a match for everything. So if it found a match for everything, if I go here to the left node, I should see zero. Yep, zero records displayed. Now, if I go to the right, there's one record displayed. So basically, what that's telling me is that for this year ID, team ID, and name, there wasn't any activity here for that. Okay. So now if I go back to what matched, I can see immediately if it lets me make this bigger. One second. There you go. You can automatically see the match. So the name actually came from the other table, but due to the match, I'm able to kind of see. All right, 2007 Team Key KCA is represented by Kansas City Royals, 72 Oakland Athletics, 1885 BL2 Baltimore Orioles, 2002 LA and Los Angeles Dodgers, probably Los Angeles National for the league it's in. So for those that know baseball, it checks out LAA, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Yeah, so it checks out the join happened correctly, and that, my friends, is a simple join that we did um, of two data sets. Uh, we use a select tool to basically only keep the data we wanted to work with. Obviously, we could have um, not used the select tool, right? We could have just said, "Hey, just join these two off this." Um, but I like to have a cleaner setup, and for that, I will show you this. So let's say, for instance, we do the same. Let's say that we do the same join, but without the select tools. So for that, I'm gonna right click on the tool that I don't want. Oops, what's going on? Let's see. I'm gonna hit delete on that. Join that there. So notice how the join is basically the same, but then if you go here, you now have an option to choose everything. Luckily, though, notice how I already selected the columns I wanted to see, right? So I'm gonna just click this box by input just to keep everything, because I want to show you what happens, what it looks like when you just do the join off two data sets without really kind of cleaning out the noise. So I'm gonna run both. So let's go back to the first join. You see a 3,200 records there. If we go back to the join here, the same 3,200 records, except it's now full data. So you have a much wider data set to work with. Joining everything. Let's see. Yeah. So it's preference, based on how you want to build things. I like to kind of first visualize what I want to work with, the data itself, uh, and then identify any noise or columns or kind of dimensions that I no longer want to work with. So I like to remove those. The preference I have is I'll try to remove those as soon as possible, because if you remove them later down in the workflow, and your workflow becomes huge, it becomes longer and longer and longer, then when you're doing some modifications to the workflow or something busts, then there may be you may have to sift through a bunch of tools at different locations of the workflow to kind of understand what's going on, right? To see what dropped off, why did it drop off. So it's very important that you start to document things too. With that said, so let me go to the documentation ribbon here. Notice how you can add a tool container, explorer box, comment. I'm going to add a comment here, so I can put this comment up here. Let's see. I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to add text and say this is a join of the home games data set and the teams data set. I use the select tool to eliminate dimensions I don't want. So there's my call out. Obviously, I can make this bigger. There you go. I can play around with the background of the comment, which I'm going to do here really quick. Let's make this orange. Um, Text color, black's fine. So, just as a rule of thumb, it's pretty important to add comments. Obviously, if you're in a team environment, group environment, you guys are developing different things. Um, People move on, go to different jobs, different teams. So always annotating and documenting your workflow is important. You can do comments like this. You can add extra documentation, like a separate tab that'll come in for the analytic app. It gets more important as you start to build like macros and analytic apps to kind of show folks what exactly certain actions do. Because keep in mind, as you build something and you put it into production, someone that may take it over in the future after you may not be at your competency level to the Alteryx tool. So you may want to add some insights, some comments, some rule of thumbs of what's going on in the workflow. So pretty much that's real simple join of two data sets or two text files. I use the select tool. I use the join. Um, let's do some other really quick tools that are pretty self-explanatory. Let's do a prep. So let's do a formula real quick. So I'm going off the J node, which is what joined. I'm gonna create a year flag. So I'm gonna do a simple if statement. If year, and then notice that the mention on the table you're joined to will pop up. If the year key is greater than or equal to 2000, then why else no. So let's see, invalid type operator. We sure that's okay. It's probably using. Okay, so let's do that really quick. We're adding a flag just to see if the year ID is equal or greater than 2000. Let's run it really quick, and then we can check. 2007, yes. All these no's. There's a yes there for 2002. All right, looks like we're good to go. And now we're going to create a filter. Obviously, I could have done the filter um, off that this kind of syntax here, the if statement, but I wanted to kind of show you how to do the formula, how to create another dimension to the existing output, and then we're going to use that same year flag to just filter out those that are no. So we're going to say year flag equals to, we'll say yes. So that will drastically reduce your output from 3,200 down to 723 records. So all the instances or observations of years that are 2000 or greater. And then all the older ones would be in the F node. So whatever kind of condition you're going to add in your filter tab, you have your data set being separated by the F node and the T node, the true and false. Okay, so we did a simple input tool, some text files. We did a select tool. We did a simple join. We added a formula from a formula tool in the prep ribbon in the tool palette. And then we also got a filter tool in the tool palette in the preparation ribbon to kind of basically show you how we're bringing in the data set, we're joining them together, we're doing a simple kind of condition to create a flag, and then we're kind of filtering it out. So real simple things that we've done. Obviously, if you had to code it in SQL or in SAS or in Python, you have to know the inner workings of the syntax and how it works, the indentation. Um, but this is a really good way to kind of immediately start doing some data manipulation, data assessments by using a drag and drop feature like Alteryx and what it has to offer. So I really hope that you enjoyed this kind of quick kind of rundown of the first thoughts that I saw when I downloaded Alteryx Designer. Obviously, I'd like to go deeper in other videos, so please subscribe, send me a note, let me know what you think on what else I should go through. I'm thinking next time what I'll do is I'll bring in all my kind of source data sets for the baseball bank that I have to work with, and then we'll do some simple kind of manipulation, data preparation, and then maybe we can use Alteryx to work with data, join it all together, do some simple kind of formats, some simple data prep, and maybe we will get it ready. Maybe we'll get it ready to get visualized in Tableau. So I'll try to take it step by step. Obviously, I wanted to do a quick intro on what you can do with the data here, but then we'll go further along as we kind of learn more about the designer. Okay. I hope you all enjoyed it. Appreciate your time. Thanks. Remember, feedback is always welcome. Thank you.